Joe, what are you doing?
Drinking some wine, eating some cheese, and getting ready to do a Battle Rankings Live. It's the French, baby. And I got a special guest with me. My brother from a different mother, Brian Coaches. Hey, Brian.
Howdy. How you doing?
This is a ramp up to Team Yankee Masters. It's happening on the weekend of the 20th, and we're just we're gonna do the French, talk everything French. So yeah, someone has to. So you know what? Let's kick it off the kind of French style here. What I need is one bare breast showing, Actually, how long is that national anthem?
9 minutes long.
9 minutes? Oh, hold on. Pod that down.
Okay.
All right. We'll come back to that. We'll see when they finish, okay?
All right, hold on.
Okay.
Finish the verse.
Finish the verse. Oh, wow. It's a big choir. All right.
Okay.
It's very powerful. I mean, at least there's something powerful about it in France. All right. So I think, so, I begin, I don't know if you guys know, somehow I morphed this whole thing into 3 sections. An opening bit, the meat and potatoes of Team Yankee, and some closing bit. So let's go into the opening bit. Yeah, I wanted to talk about, well, actually, I was going to talk about something else, but which is actually the next thing. This is actually something I threw in there because when I was working on the other, which I'll introduce in a second, I found this. I was going to talk about French military victories, but I did find out there was a modern French military victory, and it happened on July 10th, 1985. It was an overall victory, and it was just one day. That was the sinking of a major enemy vessel, the Rainbow Warrior by Greenpeace. That happened actually in New Zealand. I wonder how the New Zealanders feel about that. Actually, I think there was actually someone killed on the Greenpeace because of this. I got to remember my Greenpeace history. But anyway, let's actually go to the real thing I want to talk about, and Brian's going to help me on this. It's the abridged history of French armored fighting vehicles. Now, by the way, I think it was on Netflix. They have a documentary on tanks. I think it's 4 or 5 parts. It's worth the watch. But the thing is, it's actually done by the French. Très bien.
Probably no bias there whatsoever, right?
Yeah. The thing about the that I don't know. I don't know if you've seen that documentary, but yeah, it's actually pretty good. It actually talks about the history of tanks. So kind of speaking with, going with that vein, let's talk about the early years of French tanks. So I think we settled on the name of this one as the Schneider.
Yeah, we're probably going to butcher all of these. The CA1 and the interesting thing about the French tanks were it almost paralleled the British tank development in the early wars. The issue that the French had was they decentralized their design process, whereas the British had it all under one thing. So you really kind of were all over the board with with the designs that came out from the French. But then again, it allowed to have a lot more freedom to try different things. The early De Snider and the Saint-Chamond were initially very successful. So successful that they couldn't even make it past the first German trench line. So, but then we ended up with the FT, which is the first modern layout, not necessarily the first modern tank with a turret, but it was the first one that had the driver in the front, the turret, and then the engine in the back, which pretty much all modern tanks follow that design. So it ended up being beneficial for tank design to have that decentralized process.
Right. So they actually worked out that bidding out actually worked out for them. Speaking of documentary, I saw something on YouTube. Some guy talks about naval history and talked about like pre-dreadnoughts, French pre-dreadnoughts. Oh my God, it's god awful. The dreadnoughts. The documentary is hilarious, but the dreadnoughts were horrendous, and it was kind of like this, where they were all over the place, armament and the way it's speed and everything. You couldn't put three of them together for a fighting force because none of them operated the same. Where the British had.
See that. I mean, that's a great example. You see that throughout, even into pretty much the Cold War area, where there's a lot of competition between the French companies in these designs, and they're just all over the board, for better or worse.
Yeah, and then here we got the another Renault where you can see they're beefing up that turret design. Mm-hmm. And so that was the early years.
Good look on the inside of that turret too. That's a pretty impressive feature there.
It is. Then speaking of looking inside turret, what's kind of interesting, it's probably the same turret. I think it is the same turret. Yeah, the Char B and the Hotchkiss H35. I like this guy. Knock knock. Who's there? Yeah, Adolf who? Anyway, so yeah. Oh yeah, geez. They look like they've been worked over. It's interesting. I think the damage was on the other side, the way this is curled up. And yeah, and then the Hotchkiss here. That's a good one. Wow. But anyway, so yeah, that was the early World War II, and kind of go through here. So, and then here's some early Cold War. The MX-13 and the AMX 50. By the way, do you know why it's called the AMX? Is that a company or something?
I'm not sure. We could look it up here in a moment, but I'm not sure why it's called, because there was another vehicle called ARL 44, which is right at the end of developed at the end of World War II and lasted for like 6 years or so before it was deemed not efficient anymore. So I don't know what the difference is between the ARL and the AMX, but you're probably right on the nose there with it being a different company.
Yeah. Now, I think it's interesting. The turret is way different. It actually looks more. Actually, more looks like like a BattleTech turret or something like that. More a sci-fi turret.
Yeah, kind of a pencil rotation where the whole turret moves. I think that was due to the auto-loading mechanism that they had, or the so if I remember correctly, the AMX 13 had a really odd loading mechanism for the rounds, where it was just and I'm going off memory here. I think it was like a clip, and like a 3 or 4 round clip that it would go through the clip, and you'd have to load another one. So very interesting design that or turret design that really didn't catch on. The U.S. Dabbled with it in some of their prototypes, but it just wasn't that efficient.
Actually, I see Rich Bear posted. Actually, I'm going to show it here. The tank was designed by.
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll say AMX. AMX works really well, So, wow. Okay, it's a mouth word. By the way, you only pronounce half those syllables anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And then the AMX 50 actually looks like a kind of a real fighting vehicle. It actually kind of has a Keen Tiger look to it.
Well, and you see that a lot with the French designs. Like the ARL 44 was just basically a Panther knockoff. The AMX 50, of course, is the big brother of the 13. It's a 13-ton tank. 50 is a 50-ton tank. So it's just kind of the big brother of the AMX. But so same turret style, same loading mechanism, just for the heavily armored side of it. But yeah, even then, when they were developing the AMX, which I don't think they went in production, I think they had like maybe 1 or 2 prototypes, but couldn't find buyers for that particular tank. So it didn't, obviously last very long.
Well, that is the intro to the abridged history of French armored fighting vehicles. So, because that will lead us into our Team Yankee. But before we do that, let me kind of reintroduce my guest here, Brian Coaches. Brian, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, like where you're from and stuff?
I'm from Texas. I currently live in College Station, which is about in the middle of nowhere. So you have to make an effort to kind of get down to College Station. I've been playing Flames of War Battlefront games since about 2005 or 6. So I think I came in right after version 2 started. And kind of a funny or interesting little story going around that. I had moved to Memphis, Tennessee for a job, and where I grew up in East Texas, it really wasn't a game store. So I moved to Memphis, and I'm like, you know what? I had some time on my hands, and I was like, hey, I want to go to the game store, see what it's all about. See, I'm just kind of going in one and say I've been in one. So I went to a game store in Olive Branch, Mississippi, and went in. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, board games, that type of thing. I rounded the corner, and a good friend of ours, Charlie Clay, had a German. He had a full Flames of War set up with Germans versus Americans, and he was showing a veteran that just got out of the military, how to play the game. And I was like, I've always been a student of World War II, that era. Really kind of, like read all the books and growing up that I could on it. So I'm naturally drawn to that thing. I was like, oh, this is really kind of neat. Then Charlie saw me standing there. He's like, come on, sit there. If you're going to look, you're going to play. I'm like, no. He's like, no, you're going to sit down, you're going to play. So I sat across from this veteran, as Charlie explained, the version 2 roles. And, he put me in charge of a little Sherman tank platoon. And I spent 4 turns bogged down on a stupid little stream. And ever since then, I've been hooked. I mean, that's it. First tournament, I'll say, was at Adepticon. Fantastic venue. I was at the old venue. I went to Adepticon recently in a newer venue. If you haven't had a chance to go, it's a great place. A lot of fun. And my first tournament there in 2006 or 7, brought a janky little British list because that was my first force after Charlie introduced me. I made a mistake of buying into British and version 2, which is wasn't that great of a thing to do, but it was still a lot of fun to make that. Took it up to Adepticon and was in second place at the end of the first day and second to last place at the end of the second day. So that was my first tournament. And again,
you're like, woohoo, look at me. And
yep, and then British infantry ran into Russian cav, and that was the kind of end of my tournament. It's been a great hobby. It's the people that I enjoy the most and go in these tournaments and BS other people. So I feel very fortunate to do that.
All right. Well, and you have been at the ETC, the European Team Championship.
That's correct. So I was part of the inaugural team. We went and started in 2012 or 2013, whatever, with Bill Wilcox. They kind of made an exception for us, which was nice. It was me and Bill Wilcox, and then 4 other mercenaries. We went there, and then had a full team next year, and they've been, of course, going ever since. And then in 2014, I was top points earner in the U.S., and then I went to ETC and won the European Singles Championship. And then we finished 3rd that year. Then in 2015, finished 1st place at ETC representing Team USA. So that was a really kind of a proud moment in my gaming career, is being able to represent Team USA and go there. And all those guys at ETC from all the different countries, fantastic folks. We've been to dinner with the French team, and those guys are fantastic. I have a good sense of humor, so I'm sure they'll get a kick out of this. And then last year, in 2019, first year for ATC, Asian Team Championships, Chris Jackson, myself, and Alex all went out to Singapore and won that. I got top general out there. And again, if you have an opportunity to go out and play, I know it's a long way, especially for us here, but hopefully there's people overseas watching this. And if you have a chance to go to ATC, of course, it's canceled this year because circumstances, but next year, Ben and that group out there at ATC run a fantastic tournament. Great people, run into people all over the place, people Malaysia, China, also Australia. Hopefully we can get the bombs out of New Zealand to go there and represent New Zealand at ATC. It's just a hop and skip and jump away from them. But fantastic group of guys if you have a chance to go out there.
Oh, very good. And so I think you answered all the personal questions. That's good. So long walks on moonlight beaches,
Yeah, absolutely. And random, some dude.
coladas.
Get caught in the rain.
Being, some random dude on the internet. So
Right. So.
Another shiny moment. We had a lot of fun with the doubles. That was a very interesting layout, and it's one of those things. Like a lot of my list starts out with the phrase, "What happens if I were to do X?" And in that particular tournament, we had 85 points apiece, and it's like, well, how many 30s can I put into that? Oh, I could put 5 30s at 530 company in that. So really like running weird lists, and so I just kind of gravitate towards things like the French and Team Yankee that are just kind of a really weird cobble together kind of stat looking force. So, but yeah, definitely pina coladas.
Yeah, pina coladas. Yeah, I mean, you might throw Jane Austen in there too. Okay. Anyway, so let's get to the meat and potatoes, which is the French, or should I say framboise and fromage. We're gonna take a look at. There you go. Yeah, let's take a look at the French force in Team Yankee.
Can you play more FDS?
Oh yeah, actually, where are we at the national anthem?
It's for the guys to do.
Oh my God, they're still playing? Okay. Well, we'll come back to it and see where they're at. Okay.
I feel bad for second and third place in the Olympics when the French win. I'm going to stand through 9 minutes of anthem. Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh no, and there's some guy doing this, All right. So, but what's kind of short is the French list in the book. Now, it's in Free Nations. I don't own the book, but I have the force list thing, so we can look at it here. So there are 4 formations and some support options. Well, actually, before we go much farther into the formation types, well, let's just talk about the formation options. What are these thingies? These
the Mephistos are your anti-tank, it's a wheeled vehicle that has an AT-23 gun on it. It is you can't move and shoot. It's a guided weapon. They're 4 for 8 points or 2 points apiece. The AT-23 is obviously a serious weapon on a vehicle. However, the major drawback with it, and you'll see this a lot with a lot of the French stuff, is I think it has a cross of 5, if I remember correctly.
What?
And
okay.
So, yeah, I mean, you're not really jaunting through terrain with, a cross of 5. And if you have a lot of hedgerows, great weapon. If not, I think there's probably better options to be able to use because if you put them in trees, I mean, my goodness. They do have a hammerhead equivalent rule, or they do call it hammerhead. So you can shoot and not be seen with it. So you're not getting janks like you are with the storms, but it's they're just kind of like you lock down one particular area of the board with those.
Okay. What's the base to hit the little Frenchies? Is it a 4?
Yeah, it's a 4. So they're pretty much, if you're going through concealment, you're always going to have to hit on 6s. And that's one thing you have to be mindful with the French in particular, because their companies tend to be on the small side, is you kind of want to make sure you're as hard to hit it always, with the 5s and 6s. So you really have to use terrain to your advantage to be able to move around the board to be effective.
Okay. And then now the battery. I heard the French have good artillery.
Yeah, the French artillery is probably really kind of the best thing about the French, in my opinion. That your skill of 3. So with the observer. If you're not in any terrain, you choose to range in. Then you have, if you're on terrain, it's 3, so it's still a pretty good opportunity to range in. And then they have a special rule called autoloader, which reduces the opponent's hit. So if you're Warsaw, going against Warsaw, then or somebody that's 3 to hit, then you're hitting on 2s. So it's a very, very effective artillery piece. And it's a 4-2, so pretty much as good as arty as you can get in this game. They're relatively priced, and again, as you experience with the French vehicles, it's got a 4+ cross. So putting them in woods, you really have to kind of put them out of the way. Otherwise, if you have to move around in woods, 50-50 chance on being able to get them to move.
Then, so in the middle here is their anti-air, a Roland that looks German.
Well, kind of. And the interesting thing about the French and Germans is and we'll talk about this, I guess, we can do it now, on the Amx 30. So the West Germans and the French kind of have a disagreement, so no surprise there, on building going in at the same time and building one tank for everybody. So the French were like, we can do it better. So in this particular case, the Germans, the West Germans, built the Roland, and then French were like, oh yeah, we can do it bigger and better. So they made this monstrosity of a vehicle. It's just about the largest A you can get. The York may give it a run for its money, but it is just a mountain of a vehicle. And it's got a great gun on it for AA, but it's 5.31, so it is affected by deep reserves. So you have to be real careful of that. And then the DCA it's a VADS. It's just not as good as the VADS. You can only get 3 in a platoon. I believe it's 5.3, 5 rate of fire 5, 3 on the move, and 87 5+ firepower with a 36-inch range. So it's not a bad vehicle. 3 for 4. If you're not reaching out and grabbing additional AA from another nation, then you probably pretty much need DCAs in your list.
Okay. MX-10 we'll talk about because they have actually a thing, but the Mirage. As far as planes go, how's that go? Other than you can put an X missile into a British ship in the Falcons.
Well, we didn't get the missiles with the Mirages. We just got cluster bombs. And it's basically a British jump jet without the jump jet rule. So you have the Top Armor 8 3+ firepower that you get from the British. It may be even the same cluster bomb. They may have purchased that from the British. But the stats are the same. You still get 4 for 8 points. So it's priced the same. So it's not a bad way to spend points if you want to get some. If you're doing a little light on AA and you want to take the chance on aircraft coming in.
Okay. And I love the name, the Gazelle, the hot Gazelles. You can get a lot of them.
Well, you can get 2 platoons of it, and then we'll talk about the 20mm here in a moment. The Gazelles are quite nice. They're a 48-inch range AT-23 helicopter that you hit on 4s, 6 in concealment. So a fantastic. There's 16 points. 16 points. They're on the edge of being a great buy, and really they can. If you're able to eliminate your opponent's air, they can be devastating. because of the range. So if you're doing short end, the short end of the board, you can stick them at the back, and if your opponents attack it into you, then you just kind of hit people as they come in. If you're doing long table edge, you can stick them at the back. And just kind of keep them out of harm's way. So that 48-inch range is pretty important when you're doing that. And of course, 1823 is really pretty devastating. The 20 millimeter Gazelle is kind of a unique thing. So the 20 millimeter gun is not overly impressive. It's 3.2, 5+ firepower. And they put this 20 millimeter on everything. It's like, what do we have left spare to put on something? Oh, a 20 millimeter, put it on the helicopter. So it's the 20 millimeter Gazelle has a rule called gunslinger, which allows it to shoot before enemy AA, and then you can make a skill check and then to try to retain your gun on the ground. So it's 4 points for 4. It's one of the best buys in the game, in my opinion. If your opponent doesn't have AA or something that you can really kind of use those 20 millimeter Gazelles with, you have a observer that's flying in the air, so they can see the whole table. So really a fantastic 4-point buy. And it's a fantastic little unit. It's not really going to kill a bunch. 5+ firepower is really rough, but you can bail out a ton of stuff with it, and just kind of really be really annoying. Especially if you continue to make that skill check and your 6s to hit. And then something next turn when the opponent fires their just guided missiles at you, 7s to hit. So really can be a pretty good annoyance. The best thing out of all this is not necessarily the French list. It's that the French sold their stuff to everybody, and the Iraqis picked up on this. You can take a lot of this equipment with the Iraqis, and I took that to HEC last year and did pretty darn good with it. And it's a little bit more effective on the point buy. So. But again, there are 3s to hit, 5 if you're in concealment, and that difference between 5 and 6 is pretty considerate. So the French support options are pretty good.
Okay. So before we go in, let's see where we're at with the anthem.
It's a voice choir.
Boys, I thought that there was their men. Okay. Anyway, we'll come back to see where they're at.
Okay.
All right.
So the French aren't saluting this whole time.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's take a look at their, armored list. AMX 30. Now, Echelon.
It's probably not Echelon. It's probably a squadron. But again, my French is not on point. So.
And
Escadron. Yeah.
What's the AMX?
Is it BLI and they can't read it because it's blurring on the screen.
Oh,
BLINDE. Okay. Escadron blindé.
Got Z-Danks. Anyway, okay. Well, anyway, so they got these AMX 30s, and they got these AMX 10s.
You should demonstrate our French, Joe.
Yeah. What? Moi?
Vous.
No.
Oui.
Yeah, see? Conversational French. Anyway. Yeah, now the thing is the AMX 10s are wheeled. They pretty much, well, what's interesting is the infantry options seem to be different. and the AMX 30s, you can get 4 of them, where the AMX 10 you only can get 3. Oh, there's an or. Wow, you can get 2 and something.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing with the French that, and probably one reason why you don't see them a lot in tournaments, which is a shame. But the companies are very, very small, and it's I'm taking a French list to Masters here in a few weeks, and one of my considerations to on this was how do I, because of the way the tournament is set up, how do I keep my main formation alive? So what you'll see and what you'll make, or how to make the French more playable, is to reach out into other NATO factions and pull in kind of the stuff that you're missing from your main force, and then be more on the reserved side when attacking with your main company.
Okay, sounds very French-like.
Yeah. Let other people do your fighting.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You go. We'll be there soon.
Wine and cheese.
We have our baguettes. We have our wine. Anyway. Okay. Anyway, I'll probably get old soon. Let's talk about the 30s here.
Sure.
So basically, 4 for 10 or 3 for 8. Well, that's interesting. Now you said they were paralleling this with was it the Leopard 1?
Yeah. So again, the West Germans and the French kind of disagreement on how to proceed with a combined tank design. So they kind of parted ways, and the French did their design internally, kind of what they did with the remaining designs in the following years. So it was their equivalent to the Leopard 1. It is a decent tank. It's basically 2.5 points tank. It's got an 18-19 gun. The armor is 11.4, so not really stopping too much. It's kind of that weird break point where it will bounce some things if whatever reason a BIP2 tries to shoot you in the front, then you can bounce that. But and then you have the opportunity to save some of the AT-16s and 17s that the Warsaw has. No bazooka skirts, so you don't get deep. That forward side armor is kind of a real weakness with because there's a lot of small light tanks or light scout units that can get to your side and do some damage.
Yeah, it's interesting. It can't walk and chew bubble gum, so you got a 2 and rate of fire 2 or 1.
Yeah, and that really hurts the performance on the tank. Even though the gun is brutal, got laser rangefinder, you have smoke, which is really nice. The brutal gun is one of my favorite things. I find myself gravitating towards Canadians, Australians with their Leo 1. Paid extra point for the brutal. You kind of get that in the AMX 30. But the rate of fire 1 while moving really really hurts. Now you do have a very good skill, so you can blitz and then shoot at full rate of fire. So you kind of have to work yourself. What I found is you work yourself into position with it, and then then next turn you blitz out. And then spray and pray basically, with that gun.
Okay, the skill 3 that's very good. The morale 5 is interesting.
Well, and I think it's the only nation that has a different courage, morale, and remount or rally rating. So all 3 of them are different, and it's a very interesting, so your remount and rally is 4, so you're getting back in 50% of the time. Your follow me is the same as your skill, so you have a good option to be able to either blitz or follow me depending on what you want to do. and then your morale is, well, I mean, they're good about, hey, follow me, yeah, sure. And then they're like, oh, well, let's just leave. So, so yeah, that 5+. And again, and with the small companies, that's one reason why you have to be kind of conservative with attacking or being aggressive with the French.
Okay.
And also notice that they had extra 20 millimeters, so they slapped another one of those onto the Amx 30, and I guess you can shoot down helicopters with it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the helicopters shoot back, and you could shoot at the helicopters. It's pretty cool. Now the 10, man. Now, why does that look like that model is just gonna hold on. Here we go. It's like this. So, just gonna tip over, So.
And it goes back, I think, yeah, it's a very large recon. It's like the Germans came out to Lutz, and the French were like, we can make a bigger one. And then they're like, well, we can't put this silly little 20 millimeter on it. That wouldn't look impressive. So what do we have laying around? Oh, well, we have the Amx F1 gun. We'll call it F2, just so people don't get confused. And then we'll send that out into the battlefield. It's a really nice recon, actually. I think it's 4 for 9 points. And the gun is essentially the same thing as on the AMX 30. Yeah, I think the range is 36 instead of 40, but it's brutal. It doesn't get affected by deep reserves, so being 210. The unfortunate thing with it, and as with a lot of us know, is when you have really good recon, especially one with a really good gun, you want to use it, and it's really easy to get yourself in a lot of trouble because then you're worried about 50 cals coming in and just kind of doing quite a bit of damage to these recon. But I like them. I use them to quite a bit in my list. So unfortunately, you only take one as support. Well, I guess now you can take another platoon because you take a compulsory out. So the World War III version 2 is helped the French out quite a bit.
Yeah, in the well, it's also heat, which is interesting because the gun is heat. So you're shooting on the side of those like the U.S. Abrams or something like that, because that'd be a sneaky way to get around. But what's it take it up to 16 or something?
Yeah,
so,
that would be ill-advised. That would be. I mean, I can't say I haven't done that, but and again, you never know what the guy's going to do. If you're really in that situation where you had to kill the Abrams with your RC, or I've done this before. You're just like, well, I have nothing else to shoot at, so I'm going to try that. Once happened, so you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, it's a pretty good recon. It's for the price.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of things its size, you don't want to be messing with that gun. So and the 2 firepower, so that's pretty good. Okay, let's move on. So now this is where I show pictures of those vehicles. There's the 30, a rear view, which, by the way, most of the pictures I could find out there was the rear view. I don't know why that is. And here's another one that was in action. And here's the 10. I guess doing that whole layout. The only thing missing here is an air freshener. So, in fact, I even think, aren't these like the helmets and the mic units of the that's what the picture looks like.
That was a thing. I don't know when that particular picture came out, but it seems like a year or so ago. There was a lot of people doing this. With all their kit laying out, you see a bunch of different pictures like paramedics, and then the Army got into it, and it's kind of an interesting thing to see what's all in that vehicle.
All right. We'll move on. By the way, it's an interesting green here. Okay. Let's move on to the infantry options. AMX 10P and the VAB. Do you know what does the VAB stand for something about as long as this baguette? So
Most likely, yes.
All right. Let's take a look at these two. So here's the infantry options. Once again, that courage, morale, and rally, and skill attack. That's pretty much the standard. Well, you don't have to learn too many numbers with the cards. But so what's the significance between the two infantry options?
Well, you can get one more unit with the VAB, but you can get one less Milan with the VAB. And then also the carrier, the transport that they're running around in is a little bit different. So the AMX 10P has the French favorite gun, the 20 millimeter on it. And it is a pretty good transport. I like running around and stopping. It's a great vehicle to stop, Warsaw from just running across the board. It's got a 20-inch range on it, so you can shoot out from a distance. Then the infantry is really kind of where the French shine. Very stout. They have a skill of 3. They assault on 4s, but being able to get over there with the blitz and then follow me with the 3 courage and getting in assaults is I find it a lot easier with the French than I do other nations, and a pretty good size, even though small, relatively priced effectively. You can get 7 stands with the small if you take the 2 Milan missiles. And the other thing they have is API LAS, which is a kind of like a bazooka, but it's 1821. I believe it's a 16-inch range. So it's really one of those weapons that it's not a missile, so you can move and shoot with it. It is slow firing, but those big tanks, especially on the NATO side, like the Abrams or the Leo 2. Really kind of have to pause and say, do I really want to go in and potentially lose a vehicle to this HE-21 shot? So the French infantry, I really like the setup, and even the VAB with the VAB vehicle, which I believe just has a 50 cal on it. You're getting that. You can still take the API LES. And you're getting that one extra normal infantry where you're on regular assault instead of small team assault. You do have the one less Milan, but that you should have other AT. Again, the French are all about going out and pulling in other resources, so that having that one less Milan is really not that big of a factor to me.
Okay. Well, I know like the British can have like a gazillion Milans or million.
Yeah, the VAB squad, you can actually do even better than the British. So I guess the French and British thing, comes into play there. We're like, oh, you can have 4 Milans in your platoon. We'll take 8. So the VABs can pull in a platoon of 8 Milan teams in one squad. So a very interesting unit, especially if you're ambushing that on some dumps or something like that.
All right, man. Now before we get into let's see where they're at with the national anthem there.
Okay.
My God, they're not done yet. Oh. In a baseball game, we'd be easily into the 3rd inning by now. All right. We'll go on. Okay, okay. Now my wife's doing it because she's just enjoying the piece of music. All right, we'll come back to see where they're at. All right. Okay.
I love the Sopranos on the top anyway.
All right. Let's look at the armaments. Now, the FAMAS. That's probably got to stand for something.
It's a long thing, probably.
But it's an interesting gun. The clip goes in the back. I guess you have a long barrel without making it long.
I think they call them bullpup weapons or bullpup guns, something like that, where the ammo goes behind the trigger.
Okay. Now, what's interesting is I like how they put a warning on here. Probably says something in French. You might poke your eye out or something. I'm wondering what it says there.
Towards shoulder.
What's that?
Towards shoulder.
Towards shoulder. Yeah, this towards enemy. Now the LRAC, the 98 millimeter. It looks very bazooka like.
It's their Carl Gustav equivalent weapon.
Yeah, except the thing is, it's not named after a guy. Now I don't know if you saw the thing with when I was doing the British, because Carl. First of all, you go back. The guy who invented it, Carl, right? He goes back to his high school reunion, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" Oh, I'm a junior VP at the bank. Oh, okay. How about you? And hey, I invented a weapon that's named after me, called the Carl Gustav. How about them apples, huh? Yeah. Ooh. And the thing is that from there on, when he did that, the women want to be with him and the men want to be him. So now, unfortunately, the French they didn't name it after someone, so he can't go back and say, "Oh, the LRAC, that was me." And all of a sudden, he's getting a drink thrown in his face or something like that. Anyway, now the thing I thought was most impressive was and unfortunately, it has a really bad. How do you say that?
APILAS. I just pronounce it out. I don't know if it has a.
Yeah. Now that 21
APLAS.
Yeah, coming on in with that thing blasting at your side, and the fact that you're probably not killing all the infantry, and if they stick around, it's blasting at your side again with the skill of 3.
Yeah, but one point, and it's. Yeah, I mean, it's a great buy, and it's one of the reasons what makes the French infantry so tough. Because again, if you're doing static defense, which is one of the things that the French are good at, your opponent has to make decisions. They're like, am I going to hang around and try to dig this thing out, or am I going to go in and potentially be hit on the side with a AT-21 weapon, so not too much is surviving that or coming out clean.
Yeah.
Maybe when we see the M1A1, it'll be able just to shrug it off. But until that happens, it's a monster of a weapon.
It looks like it. I mean, it just looks, hey, can I take one of these weapons and just make it bigger? It's like El Grande size bazooka or missile thing. I probably should have had a picture. Should have included a picture of the projectile. Alrighty. I think with that, is there anything else that you think we should? Well, hold on. With the French, what's your go-to unit?
Well, probably the artillery. is the go-to. You can build a lot of good forces around the artillery. But if I have something that's probably in every one of my French lists, it's the Gazelle 20 millimeter. For 4 points, you can really cause a lot of havoc in your opponent's backfield, with that weapon system.
Okay. We went through the special nation rules, which is pretty much the hunter seeker for the Gazelle.
Gunslinger.
Gunslinger.
Yep.
And the other one's the autoloader.
Yep. On artillery.
Right. I guess and by the way, so yeah, what did attract you to this army? Because I mean, it's got a lot of interesting. It's not a standard army. It's got weak armor, big guns. The infantry's got some good options, but their morale doesn't. They don't stick around a long time with the morale.
Well, I'd like to say it's because I want to give my opponent every opportunity to win. So that's I don't know. I just like weird stuff, out of the norm stuff. Again, kind of mentioned this in the intro. It's like my army list building generally starts with what happens if I were to do this, or what happens if I were to play this, and that's kind of what attracted me to the French. Is you really kind of have to be on your game with the small companies to keep from being broken. So it's like, what can I pull in? So it's just a really, to me, really interesting to try to craft a competitive list with the French. And they're tough. I mean, the French infantry are second to none, in my opinion, as long as you're not, trying to, keep them on the board. But yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting force to play with.
I kind of went through I have my list of things. You did mention a couple times about bringing in other, nationalities. I mean, who do you think works well with the French? And say the French is the primary. Who works well with bringing someone in versus having a NATO unit and bringing the French in? I mean, I guess it's a two-parter. So if the French is the primary, who do you think works well with them?
There's a few forces that work really well with the French. My base is pretty much always starting with one of the two French infantries, and then looking to bring in a different, like a West German Leo 1 company, because you have the one thing that the French do lack is decent AA. And that's not to say the Rolands are bad. The Rolands are really good for what they do, but they are really hard to place on the table. And the fact that they are affected by deep reserves, it's hard to get them onto the table. Really kind of look for a force that has integrated AA, being the West Germans, the Dutch, with the cards are another good one to bring in. Something like the Iraqis where you can get the Shokas, and then you pairing that with the DCA. So those are some really good that I've found nations that you can bring in and complement what the French bring in. As far as the other direction, that's pretty tough. I mean, the AMX 30 is hard because it has that rate of fire 1 on the move. I don't know if you would necessarily bring those in into a company or as a support. And the same thing goes for the RC. Now, if you want some good infantry, you can take a look at the mechanized or the VAP. Those are fairly solid, very nicely priced, and you get the API LAS with the AT21 integrated into that, or well, not integrated, but for an extra point. And you can get the lines with them. So that's if I were building a tank force like maybe a M60 or a like maybe the Israelis, and I didn't want to pay the cost for the Israeli infantry. I would definitely reach out to one of those two French infantry and pull that.
Okay, that's good. That'd be interesting. French and Israelis.
Yep.
Oh.
With those big Merkavas 2s and some French infantry, that'd be a real tough list.
If for those for a new player or actually an established player who wanted to get into playing French, what do you recommend for that person who wants to start a French list?
I'd recommend planning on doing a lot of defending. So maneuvering's okay too, but they really kind of shine when they're defending, in my opinion. So build your list around that. I start with the infantry, and then the artillery again is fantastic. Mephistos with the AT-23, depending on the point level, is also a great buy. And then the HOTS and the Gazelles. I can't say enough about the 3mm Gazelles. For 4 points, they're just fantastic units. And then if you're planning on doing a lot of defending, that 48-inch range on the Gazelle HOTS, that puts it outside of a lot of the at least gun AI. And you can wear stuff down as it comes in, and then then try to finish it off with that infantry.
All right, then that's pretty good. You're right about the that you can put those the Gazelle HOTS in a corner and pretty much just rule the board pretty much.
And like I said, with the Rockies that I played last year at ATC, I had 2 platoons of them because they're only 12 points, and that HOT system in a helicopter is just fantastic. And if you don't have anything to shoot at, say your opponent is all dumps, and you're like, I have other things to take care of the dumps, and you have a very accessible observer, and helicopters can see the whole board, so there's no hiding from them. It is just a great weapon system.
Okay. All right. I think it's end of my questions. Anything you want to add to the French, or?
Not much. I think we pretty much covered it all. It's just like I said, it's a really interesting force that can, the infantry are, cheap enough that you can pull in all these different combinations of nations, and they're just a lot of fun to play.
Okay. Well, we do a thing. What did we learn? I'm not too sure if there's anyone who has anything that they learned. But what we'll do is, why people type up their "What did we learn?" questions. Why don't we see where we're at with the national anthem?
Okay.
The French national anthem.
Let's go sit down. It's getting near the end.
Yeah, I know. Wow, it's a big finish. Boom. Wow. Oh my God. Oh, it was like an hour-long national anthem. Holy mackerel. Well, we have a what did we learn? From Rich Bear. I learned to rock your gazelles. Yep, rock those gazelles.
Yep.
Eric Deutsch at the very beginning, he said he already had one. He said, I already have. What did I learn? I learned the French national anthem is stupidly long for a country that lost so many wars. And that was early on. He already learned that.
Oh, yeah, I'll bring that up. So, yeah, stupidly
here's
long.
another one. Eric had one. Go ahead.
Okay, on. I'll pull it up. Let's see here. My credit card hates you. And that the Flames were community or a bunch of great guys. Okay. Yep. All right. Well, yeah, I think everyone knows that the community is a bunch of great guys.
Yeah.
At least I think so. I haven't ran into too many jerks. Well, a few here. Anyway.
Every team has them, but like I said, I've traveled all over the world, playing, these games, Friends of War and Team Yankee, and I feel like I'm really blessed to have or be involved in this community as much because everybody is really, a great bunch of people, and I feel really blessed to be a part of it.
All right. Hey, actually, if you just hold on, I'm going to close out and just hold on a second, okay?
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do is bring that up. Actually, probably bring that up. And so what I want to do is hold on.
Someone asked Brian, have you conquered the super monster?
Oh,
I don't know if he knows. What does he mean?
I'm going to bring it back. I don't know. Brian, you know what a super monster is?
I don't know the reference, no.
Yeah, so Brian, have you conquered the super monster? I don't know what that means. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So
what's with the American flag?
Oh, well, we're changing subjects.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All
so
right.
anyway, maybe this, I don't know, is a roller coaster. All right.
I wonder if that's a luggage reference.
Oh, okay. And we're asked about Freebird. I think what we're going to do, actually, hold on a second here. Oh, wardrobe change. So I kind of want to end the show or end this episode. This is episode 11. Oh, it's burritos. Burrito and Freebirds. Okay. I kind of want to end this episode or this I guess they're episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And discuss or bring up something that I think that it's kind of like, it's the elephant in the room, and we and it's been dominating the news, and I kind of want to bring it up, and because I honestly feel it needs to be discussed, brought out, and just like everyone else, I have commentary on it, and so I want to address the. Actually, you know what? Oh, yeah, it should be backlit. Yeah, I want to address it, and it's a very serious matter, and I'm going to address it very seriously, because our nation had something that happened, and I think we need to talk about it, and that is these two guys, Doug and Bob. Wait a minute. Oh, it ain't those two guys. It's these two guys. Elon Musk, you marvelous bastard. You got guys in space through private enterprise. Congratulations. It is, there he is. The Dragon capsule lifted off Saturday. And it was kind of what I was envisioning. Myself and the family, my wife and Ray, we sat around the television and watched we were trying to watch the first one, and it got delayed because of weather. We watched it on Saturday where it did take off. That was beautiful. At the man launch, U.S. soil, and on a capsule that could be reused. Kudos. And here's kind of a picture of the interior. I mean, by the way, that he not only had engineers, but he also had people that came in there and says, "Oh, what can we do with this space?" and just the way it was designed and laid out, it looks modern. I mean,
it's sexy.
It is. It's sexy. I think it'll make STEM sexy, and which is desperately needed for kids these days. They're going to look at that, and I hope they look at that and say, "Wow, that I want to do that. I want to be part of that." And begin a new age of space exploration, going into space, and take a look at it. But I was, I think, I also we were also remarking about their polos. Even their khaki pants and their polos. Everything about it was designed. Every thought was put into everything. And if it was that much detail in that level, I can't imagine what the detail level was everything else. I mean, just just everything they did about it. I think it's great. And the fact that they can actually land and reuse the rockets. And so, it's a Godspeed, Doug and Bob. And hopefully a safe return. Right now, they're at the International Space Station visiting, which is pretty cool. Now, if only Boeing can get their act together and get their programmers and kick their programmers in the ass and fix their problems with that and the 737 Max or 787 or whatever it is. That's the one they have software problems. I don't know how you have software problems. It's test. Okay, anyway, that's enough of that. But Elon Musk, congratulations. SpaceX, everyone that works there, congratulations. NASA congratulations. Everyone that was involved, excellent. I know he began like in 2008 or something like that, and so it's pretty good. I mean, you have to give it to Musk. I mean, sometimes, when the Tesla came out, I thought, it might be selling snake oil, but, maybe he's the, he's the modern day version of Carl Fisher. And by the way, if you don't know who Carl Fisher is, you need to look up Carl Fisher. Because I think Elon...
He founded the Indy 500.
Yeah, actually, Carl Fisher, Hoosier by birth. He did a lot. He did a lot. I could do a whole thing on him. I won't do that and bore everyone. Not bore everyone. No, it'd be riveting about what Carl Fisher did. But that man loved speed and cars, and had a bunch of patents.
Fisher body?
No, he didn't do Fisher body.
He didn't do Fisher body.
No,
okay. Wrong guy.
But he did do incandescent headlight. That was his. And he found Miami Beach and the Hamptons. So he was a real estate mogul on top of an E500, which he was a racing. But anyway, everything he did kind of reminds me of Musk.
And the interstate freeway system.
Right. Yeah. The Dixie Highway system and the Lincoln Highway system. He put that together. He was the main driving force on that. So yes, believe it or not, the first roads were actually built by corporations. It wasn't until later that it was for national interest, security. The Eisenhower system took over the roads. So yeah, don't anyone say that, government can only do things. corporate. They built the first roads, so that's what got the cars company going. Anyway, enough of that. But look up Carl Fisher, Elon Musk. Congratulations, SpaceX team. Congratulations, NASA. And I think that's it. And everyone have a good night. And remember, next week is John Mayer. We're West Germans. And the week after that, the week right before Team Yankee Nationals, we are having Chris Jackson to discuss Russians with a special 8:30 start time. So anyway, everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the game table. Always that delay.